Alright, and we should be live. So, I am back to work on Urza. It's been it's been a week. Um this has been one of those times where everything that could be awful and miserable and wrong kind of is. Like nothing life shattering terrible, just it started with little things. So I tried again to get a cable that would connect to my tablet so I can stream Opera Omnia because I wanted to add that to my channel. And eventually I want to add Missing Link when that comes out, but this one is a different sized connector, so it doesn't connect. I was going to order the one from, like, I found. So I'm using a Galaxy Tab. So I wanted to find the actual like Samsung product that would connect it. So they've been out of stock. I found one on Amazon, but apparently, and it was great that they thought to contact me to make sure this is what I actually wanted before shipping it out. Um, but apparently, it would not work with the model that I have. So that's been a bust. I have been trying to figure out how to mirror the tablet to the screen, and everything I found for that has been complicated, awful, and very frustrating. Like, I don't know how anybody streams anything that's on a tablet at this point. Like, I'm watching videos where I've got somebody explain to me how to use one of those, like, potato chip bag clips to hold down the button on a combination like microphone and headset in order to get audio with the way you would have to set it up in order to use one of these programs to mirror the screen to the thing so you could also get the sound. And I'm just like, what? How is this a thing? How is it that I can't just literally plug my tablet into my computer and view the tablet screen on the computer screen? Like, why is that not a thing? Why is there like 10 steps and I have to download software and it still doesn't work right? Level of why is this so hard and how does anybody ever do this? Uh, so that in and of itself would just be mildly depressing and annoying, but my job has not been good this week. Holy God. Um so without getting into a ton of detail, my boss um my boss is not great, but he normally doesn't bother me or my brother that much, but he loves beyond reason, and honestly, I don't know. I'm guessing because we just don't hammer him hard enough for doing this. He is very unkind to some of our other employees. In particular, this one woman who my brother and I get along with her very well, and she's a very genuinely nice and decent human being, which makes this so much more maddening and rage inducing. But her life is not great, and a lot of stuff keeps happening to her that is not her fault, but makes it hard for her to be consistent at work. Like, if you don't know her and you just go by the numbers, she would have been fired a long time ago because she keeps having to call out for things, but it's stuff that is, like, either literally she can't come in, like she brings in doctor's notes and whatnot, so that one wouldn't be that bad because she is very accident prone among other things. Like, if it weren't a human, like, if you could see this stuff happening to her as like a show, it would be like it would be a sitcom because she gets into weird situations often enough that when crazy stuff happens, but then there's actual real world consequences to it instead of just, so she actually has to like go to the hospital or something, and then she's fine like a couple days later, relatively speaking, but it's if she's a real person to you, it's like, oh my god, what happened to her now? But it, like, from a outsider standpoint, it would almost be comical, like the levels of things that happen. But she's been going through some much more serious stuff lately involving her mom, and her mom being in and out of the hospital, and her mom not being, like, I'm not sure if it's actually dementia or if it has to do with her other medical condition, but she's not lucid enough to be able to interact with doctors properly and that sort of thing. So, and the hospitals around here have been having overflow issues lately. So they sent her home when they shouldn't have, and then she had to go right back to the hospital. And like, all of this stuff is happening to this woman right now and to her mom, and so she's not able to come to work, and sometimes she has to leave work because of all of this. And our boss, already before any of this started happening, was already unnecessarily and frankly, like, if anybody had wanted to, and if we had really tried, he is harassing her. Like, he is making for a very hostile workplace. He is mean to her. He is, um, he tries to play it off as kidding around with her, but a lot of the stuff he says is not okay. He literally told one of the newly promoted assistant managers, who's been with the company for less than a year now, but he took the test and he got promoted. He's a good guy. I genuinely, like, if I could pick people that were going to be in charge of me, I have absolutely no problem with him. But the manager is telling him in front of her, and kind of trying to play off as a joke, like, try to make her cry at least once a day. Like, literally, try to make her cry at least once a day. Like, I don't want to curse on my stream, but how the do you say that? Like, he does not have the rapport with this woman for this to be a joke. Like, you can build up a rapport with your employees where you could say something like that and we'd all have a good chuckle at it, type of thing. You know, you can have that kind of rapport with your employees. He does not. And he says things ranging from, I'm kidding, but it's really mean-spirited kidding, to straight up bullying this woman. And so the other day he was complaining about how he might have to take her off of the schedule for one of her shifts because she hasn't been showing up properly lately. And he made a, like, she's not here to hear this, but he made this comment about how if she was just professional about it and called up and told him that she was going through some stuff, he could have worked with her. And I've been really having to bite my tongue around this guy, especially on this topic. And so I said to him, I was like, maybe if you didn't, you know, constantly harass her and bully her and say things like, hey, try and make her cry to her, like, the other managers, maybe she would feel like she could talk to you like an adult. So he came back at me claiming that she had tried to sell drugs to one of the underage employees that works for us, that is actually our supervisor's daughter. And that he knew about this, and if it weren't for him, like, he could have fired her whenever he wanted to, and if he just went to our supervisor with this, she'd be gone. So I should be grateful that he didn't do that to her. This is a f***ing lie, by the way. And the next day, when both the woman, my coworker, and our supervisor's two daughters, who also work at the store, came in, excuse me, I had a conversation with all of them about what he said, because I was so taken aback by it that it took me a while to even process that. It is so I did not believe it when he said it. I did not believe it at all. But at the same time, it is something so horrible to say about somebody and to accuse them of doing as a lie that I needed to take a moment to process, excuse me, what would actually go into that, like what the mentality of to say something like that would be if there was absolutely nothing at all to it. And so I needed to talk to all of the people involved about this before I actually like went. I really want to see him fired or at least like completely ripped apart by his bosses because he deserves it at this point because that is a level of pettiness, spitefulness, unprofessionalism, and just plain evil. Like that kind of petty evil that you get when. So the woman that's working with us, she's got this job at this. We do food counter service. Like this is not like skilled labor or anything. She is certified in several different categories in the state for various things, including healthcare related things and childcare related things. She has been a special needs teacher before. She has been a nursing home attendant. She, as a side thing, does a lot of babysitting. Accusing her of attempting to sell drugs to a minor. If he actually accused her of that in a setting where she could be arrested and charged with that, or try to like double down on this lie and really push for it, that could ruin her life. And he said it, and the only reason I can come up with why he said it is because I was verbally attacking him for being a jerk to her, and how dare I accuse him of being in the wrong here. Just because he was in the wrong here, how dare I do that? So to undercut her and me in front of a brand new employee that he was training, like this was the person who was actually started the complaint to in front of us. He said this about our fellow employee, and that is so evil and petty that it angers me. I've been angry for like 3 days now over this. So I had to go talk to them. I had to make sure there was nothing weird or easily misconstrued or something that he could like hang a hat on, that he's not completely lying about this. Did like, so the one employee, the one that he's targeting with this, she's very nice, very well-meaning. And I know that if somebody went to her and asked her for help, she would if she could. So if like, I'm trying to process, like, and as far as I can tell, and I've been working in businesses where I've worked with tons of stoners, drug abusers, drug dealers, like where their job was their legitimate source of income. I did pizza delivery for like 20 years, and I kept running into people, like one of the major chains, and I kept running into people that were all kinds of terrible, like, and they just needed some legitimate source of income. So I have been around a lot of people that were stoned at work, that were high at work, I differentiate between like I put being stoned on marijuana about the same as being drunk at work, which I've also encountered that one more than a few times. But I'm talking like cocaine or something high at work type of thing as a differentiating factor, and you know, I have never believed that either of the supervisor's daughters ever came to work high or did drugs while they were there, like ever got stoned while they were at work or came into work stoned. Like there's never been any indication of that going on. So the idea that they are using drugs or interested in drugs or would be a prospective customer for somebody else in the store trying to sell drugs is so laughably insane just to begin with. Again, I just needed to know. I needed to process this. I wanted something that he could misconstrue as this, just so that he wouldn't have been just to make it so he wasn't the most evil, awful. Again, I'm trying not to curse, but God, do I hate this man right now for pulling this particular lie out of his ass. There we go. I let one slip. Like, I don't know how you do. So now all three of them are incredibly mad at him also for this. So we'll see what comes from that. But this has been stressful because, like I said, he's petty and vindictive, and he's likely to, like, this is going to become a thing now, and he's going to know it came from myself and my brother. So he is probably going to do something stupid in retaliation for this on top of that. And I really want this to blow up in his face. I kind of need it to, but it has been stressful because I don't have, like, I don't want to just start shopping around my resume now, but I kind of probably should, because I don't know that he's going to get fired over what he's done recently, but nobody is happy at all, and nobody involved is going to. Out of all of the people, literally the woman he's been bullying is the one who is most likely to just take it and just let it go because that's what he's counting on when he acts like this. Like, he does not do well against anyone who stands up to him, or, like I said, the whole thing was he had to undercut me for making that comment at him about how unprofessional he's been and how he deals with her. And in response to that, he did something insanely unprofessional and incredibly mean to her. You know, like, he had to prove my point with maximum efficiency. So, yeah, so that's been my week. And that's been some other people's weeks, too, that, I spend a lot of time with. So, it has not been good at all. So we're working on Urza now. It's Thursday. I did a draft last night when I came home from work, because I usually watch this guy. If you've ever been here for any of my drafts, you might have noticed that I tend to raid this dude. He goes by Smelly Octopus, or we just call him Octo most of the time. His channel is called Smelly Octopus. If you know him, you know why it's the channel name, and he goes by Octo specifically. But it was his anniversary last night, so I decided to do a draft last night because there was nobody for me to watch. Like, I could have gone watch, like, Caleb or somebody, specifically Durwood. I know there's, like, two Calebs right now that are kind of big on Magic Limited, but Caleb Durwood is the one that I watch from time to time when I'm in the mood. I have to be in the mood, and he has to be... He's a very... if you've seen him, you know where I'm going with this. Like, you can turn him on some days, and you get like the low key laid back Caleb, and you can turn him on other days, and you get the bitter vitriolic Caleb because people in chat are acting fools, and and sometimes you get like mostly laid back, but somebody will push that button and he'll shut him down hard and then go back to playing. I think that's my favorite, is the mostly laid back but willing to pounce if properly provoked, and then move on afterwards, because so some of his biting sarcasm usually tends to amuse me. I have a thing for um, like a good little bout of sarcastic humor in things. I do a lot of the things I tend to watch have a little bit of that going on. So, but yeah. So it was either watch what he was doing, find something on YouTube to watch, or um, do a draft. So I did a call time draft, and we had some fun. My brother was back here adding extra commentary, so we had a good time. But anyway, we're building Urza now, so we're back on track, and we're doing the commander sets that we did. We did the commander sets that were tied to specific sets. So whenever something had a commander set attached to it, we checked the commander sets for those. But now we're just going to be doing the freestanding commanders that weren't considered attached to a set. Although weirdly enough, the Strixhaven one is considered like a regular commander set. Like, it's not. It's Commander 20 whatever year it was that it came out, or you know, like that range. I think it was like 20 the year after it came out, because of how they do this, like the same thing they do with core sets type of deal. I think they did it with the commander set. They do it like car models, basically, where it comes out in the middle of the year and has next year's number on it. But anyway, so Strixhaven was the one where they didn't call it like Commander Strixhaven, I think. It's either that one or Ikoria. I always forget. One of them was directly connected to it, and the other one wasn't. But anyway, we'll do all the commander sets, and well, that's the plan anyway. I plan to go through all the commander sets. So Acorn Catapult, probably not. Although it is kind of amusing that we could make a bunch of Acorn Catapults, and then we could have them deal damage to themselves, and then we would get a bunch of 1/1 squirrels, because they'll all be 3/3s. Although if something happened to Urza after doing that, it'd be kind of bad. Like, you don't want to deal a point of damage to each one of your creatures and make a squirrel, and then have your opponent go, oh, by the way, Urza's dead, so all of your guys are 1/1s now. And they all dealt themselves points of damage, so. Huh. I did not remember that Angelic Arbiter premiered in the Commander set and then wound up in one of the M sets. Alright. Starting with you, each player may pay that many 1/1 white soldier tokens. Yeah, I think we're gonna cut most, if not all, of the Soldier Matters cards. So. A little. Oh, from the Vault Angels. Okay. Here's the battlefield. Each player chooses War or Peace. War gets +3 power. Peace gets +3 toughness. Don't think so. Gain 3 life. No. It has hexproof. Meh. Put a strife counter on it. Attacking creatures get +1 power for each strife counter. Blocking creatures I control get +1 for each strife counter. I mean, it's a little okay with a go wide strategy, because then my guys on blocking are still guaranteed to kill bigger things. But it also means that their stuff is going to kill my stuff most of the time. It's all power, no toughness, so. Get a sip of water, because I've been rambling for a bit. I don't think we need Flusterstorm. Gomazoa, guard Gomazoa. Okay. It's like the Gomazoa, like the original Gomazoa was from not this thing, right? And it was. I just didn't see the other expansion symbol. Or another non-land permanent you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield. Each opponent sacrifices a permanent that shares a card type with it. That can potentially get out of hand if we copied it, but a lot of things can potentially get out of hand if we copy them. We make a whole bunch of copies of it, and then one of our artifact creatures dies, and then each opponent has to sacrifice like 5 artifacts and or creatures in order to fulfill the requirements of all of them. But yeah, I don't. Also, it can work really well if we make copies of the artifact lands as creatures, because then we have an artifact creature land, and if you run out of artifacts and creatures, you do have to lose your lands to them. I feel like we're at the point though where I kind of know what I want to do with Urza, and I'm definitely more inclined towards um, Sphere of Resistance, making tons of them so that the other players literally can't cast spells while we make an army of creatures. And then, since they can't cast any spells to get rid of our creatures, they won't be able to interact with the army at all. Like, they won't be able to play a spell. They won't be able to cast a creature or enchantment or anything that will have an activated ability that they can use against our army of creatures, basically. And it'll come down to like one of the incredibly expensive cyclers is the only thing we have to be scared of anymore. That would destroy a whole bunch of things if they cycled it. Since it would be an activated ability and not a spell being cast. But yeah, I'm inclined to try and do that with Urza. So while there's a lot of other cool stuff you can copy and make token copies of and have it work like that, I don't think that's what we need. I think we just need cards that will help with the strategy of locking the opponents out of the game by constricting what they can do with their mana. Yep. Yeah, Martyr's Bond, very strong. Would be cool if we made a bunch of token copies of it, but I don't think that's what this version of the deck is going to do. Controller mills 2 cards. Spell crumple. Hmm. Uh, oh, wow. Yeah. So I was kind of mumbling to myself, and I noticed that the noise gate didn't pick me up. Huh. I have to be careful about that. Like, normally I'm worried that I'm talking too loud near the microphone. I think it's because the microphone is over here. Hang on, let me. I put it over here so it wouldn't be as loud when it picks up, like, the louder parts, but what if I turn it towards me? A little bit. Like, it catches it a little bit, but if I just there. Yep. You notice how it like trailed off and then it stopped. Like I was still talking, but it just kind of trailed off there, like the mic went dead. So yeah, I have to be careful about that. But it does seem to pick it up at about the same range, regardless of where it is. So I'll just slide everything that's next to the microphone back over. For the most part, you can hear me talking. It does like redline. I need to put a cap on it to stop it from redlining, I think, but it's very hard to get motivated to do all of the technical stuff when I keep failing with technical stuff and it keeps frustrating me to no end, and I'm just It's so sad. Like, I just want to be able to stream my tablet stuff. I didn't think that that was going to be this massive project. I genuinely thought it was plug a thing into my computer and then I can do it, and I get to play my game on the stream, and that's all there is to it. No, apparently not. All right, back to Urza. I've already complained enough about that, and so Trench Gorger, search your library for any number of lands, exile them, then shuffle. Nope. Don't need the vows. Okay, so that was the original commander set. So we pop back over here. So we did Magic the Gathering Commander because that was the first set. Then we go Commander 2013, and we just keep moving forward from there. Active Authority enters the battlefield. Exile target artifact or enchantment. Beginning of your upkeep, you may exile target artifact or enchantment. If you do, its controller gains control of Active Authority. Yeah, I like our artifacts and enchantments too much. I feel like that card is really strong in a deck that doesn't have a lot of important artifacts and enchantments. It's leaning really hard on creatures and spells, maybe planeswalkers, and it can just afford to keep eating something every turn and then letting this thing bounce around because you don't really care if your stuff gets eaten for the most part. Like, you only have a handful of things you really super care about, and if they're not in play, then it doesn't matter. But yeah, giving this away when we have all these artifact creatures running around seems really bad. Unless we can grab it back before they get to use it consistently. Player's graveyard. No. Yeah, I'm whispering the names of the things to myself. I just realized that I'm at that vocal range where it's not picking me up. Like, my voice is down too low while I'm mumbling. So I feel like I'm talking and adding, um, you know, anything to this, but I'm not actually because I'm not saying enough. Like, I'm not talking loud enough. That is, but it's only when I get down, like, down here. No, it's still picking it up now. But, no. Like, sometimes it just doesn't move at all. That's gonna be that new thing, like how I got distracted by like frames dropping in one of the other ones, or yeah, like it's just I've noticed it now, so now I have to pay attention to it because it's like I was talking, but the microphone was not picking it up, like it wasn't moving at all, even though I was talking. So now I need to be aware of it. Or Diviner Spirit deals combat damage to a player. You and that player each draw that many cards, and it's a 2/4. Each player chooses a non-land permanent, puts a doom counter on it. Destroy each permanent with a doom counter on it. Hmm. Only during the declare blocker step on an opponent's turn. Remove all attacking creatures from combat and untap them. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Each of those creatures attacks that combat if able. They can't attack you or planeswalkers you control that combat. So, during an opponent's declare blocker step, there's an additional combat phase. Each of those creatures. Oh, during the declare blocker step on an opponent's turn. So somebody else is the attacker, but it doesn't matter who they're attacking. You untap all of the attacking creatures, remove them from combat, and then they have to attack, and they can't attack me or my planeswalker. So basically, anything that was coming at me, I can cast and go, okay, you have to attack again, and you can't attack me or my stuff with your guys, and then see what happens. Yeah, still not amazing. Barrier enters the battlefield, or at the beginning of your upkeep, choose left or right. Each player may attack only the nearest opponent in the last chosen direction, and planeswalkers controlled by that opponent. Choose left or right, starting with you and proceeding in the chosen direction. Each player chooses a creature controlled by the next player in that direction. Each player gains control of the creature they chose. Search your library for up to X basic land cards, where X is the number of players who control at least two more lands than you. Put those cards onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Meh. Put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Each opponent may put a 1/1 counter on each creature they control. For each opponent who does, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. But it's 6 mana and a sorcery, and I don't super need anything to pump my guys. You may tap or untap target permanent. Good old true name. Expectedly absent. Ew, excuse me. Okay, so that was 2013, and I don't see anything. So onward to 2014. Six permanents. Well, non-land permanents. Angel of the Dire Hour. Flash flying. Cast it from your hand. Exile all attacking creatures. Field Marshal. 2/2 and Vigilance. She gets +2/2, and all of your creatures have Vigilance. Once creatures lose Hexproof and Shroud and can't gain it. Choose an opponent. You and that player each create 3 1/1 spirits, and choose an opponent and gain 2 life for each creature I control, and they do the same. Enters the battlefield. If you cast it from your hand, tap all non-blue creatures. Those creatures don't untap. It's just Clodian. Alternate artwork. So prevent all combat damage to you and planeswalkers this turn by sources you don't control. Damage from a creature source is prevented this way, deals that much damage to that creature. If it's from a non-creature source, deals that much damage to the source's controller. I do like Comeuppance a lot, but I don't think this is the deck for it. It is hilarious, though, when you use it on something like Blasphemous Act. Like, okay, so we prevent all damage that will be dealt to my creatures. It's a non-creature source, so all the damage prevented this way is dealt to you. So for each one of my creatures, you take 13 damage. So I really do like the card, and I actually run it in my Super Friends Commander deck. So that way, when everybody's attacking all my planeswalkers and it looks like they're going to die, it's like, no, I kill all of your creatures instead. Shame on you for trying to attack me like that. And scroll to. I saw the Crown of Doom, and we have Containment Priest again. We were also looking at when we were in like M21, but I don't think I want Command Sphere for this deck. Like, it's okay, but we have so many other 3-drop mana rocks that I think are better. Most notably, Skyclave Relic and Darksteel Ingot are really good to copy if we want to make indestructible, um, you know, 5-color mirror effectively. Create X soldiers, X number of creatures on the battlefield. Yeah. Target player gains control of up to 3 target attacking creatures until end of turn. Untap those creatures. They block this turn if able. Ooh, excuse me. That is a fun one. I do like the idea of, like, I'm gonna grab your stuff and declare it as blockers against this other person who's attacking me right now. Like, that's fun and all, and it's a good way to get a whole bunch of creatures killed, but it's not amazing. Attacks target opponent this turn if able, and has another fun effect, but nothing we need. Nope. Intellectual Offering. Choose an opponent. You and that player each draw 3 cards. Choose an opponent. Untap all non-land permanents you control and all non-land permanents that player controls. Yeah, I don't like turnabout staple to Ancestral Recall, where you can't choose lands is the thing you untap, is okay. Having to give those 2 effects split up to 2 other players or to the same player if you really want to. Like, if you think they're not going to do anything with the extra cards and you don't have to worry about it to the point where you can give them all of their mana also. But that's a hard thing to get in Commander. I don't think we're gonna, like, we have a lot of things to do with our mana, so I don't think we're going to empty our hand anywhere near often enough for something like that stone to be relevant. The Huh. There are soldier tokens. They're core soldier tokens, but they are actually soldier tokens. Stallions reprinted. Reform is silly because it keeps dying into bigger and scarier things, but that is a reprint. That's alternate artwork for him, right? For the Survivor. I don't know. Although the color palette behind him looks a little more um, bold, I guess. Like it has a darker reddish hue. Looks like Mesa reprint. I forgot Sacred Mesa was in the time spiral, uh, time shifted slot. Deals 3 cards, exile 2 creature cards, put in the graveyards this way, and make an XX blue zombie where X is the total power of the card's X. Yeah, I don't think so. Doesn't seem to be anything we super need. Top 2 cards of your library, put one of them in your hand and the other one on the bottom. Untap 4 permanents, and -10 you get an emblem with may activate loyalty abilities of planeswalkers you control on any player's turn anytime you could cast an instant. So the biggest thing about Teferi is the -1 to untap 4 permanents when we have like the Urzatron in our deck. But I don't think we need a 6 drop that accelerates our mana that hard. And have that be the primary reason to run him. And I don't think we need if we need the card selection, we need other things, I feel like, more than we need this. Draw 2 cards. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. Beginning of my draw step, I draw 2 additional cards. I was wondering what the other set symbol was, and it's Double Masters. I forgot that that was in there. It does let you draw twice as many cards as the other player, so not entirely surprising. Yeah, no, I think we still just want the things like the Spine of Ishsa. I don't want to have to spend 7 mana to destroy the permanent, and having another colorless mana rock doesn't seem too appealing with what we have. So that was 2014 or 2015. Their Snatch. Gain control of target spell. May choose new targets for it. Yeah, that's one of the ones I run in my Bolus deck where I want to cast all of your spells and kill you with your own things. Because it's Bolus, and betraying people is funny to him. I don't think I need it for this deck, though. Commander creatures you control get +2/+2 and have indestructible. I mean, it's fine. It's also a soldier, so it's got that going for it, but I don't quite think we need that effect. I mean, there are times when we're going to want that effect, but deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Yeah, I don't think any of the myriad creatures are where I want to be. There is certain value in that because we're going to be running what's its name, the Anointed Procession, and probably I think the full spoiler went up today, so we could probably theoretically add in the White Mythic. I feel silly. Like, I saw that thing and saw that it was Anointed Procession, and then that the green one was a natural growth, and I wanted to have all of them be enchantments. Like, and it did not occur to me at first with the other ones that we were doubling things. Like, and then it's like the red one, it's like, well, that's kind of Furnace of Wrath, but just not for permanent sort or combat damage. Like, it only counts effect damage. And then later on, I realized that no, they all double something, and that's what the actual theme was. Also, they can become indestructible, but I genuinely thought it was a theme of making them living enchantments that could become indestructible. Just because two of them happened to perfectly. Just because two of them already had enchantment versions of the doubling effect that they were doing. So I thought they were. I thought that was the theme for the set, and that they were all going to be like powerful enchantments that you could make indestructible. And then it turned out that it's no, they are all doubling things that you can make indestructible. Which is still not bad. Doubling things is something that most Magic players love to do. Beginning of your end step, choose a creature card in an opponent's graveyard. Then that player chooses a creature card in your graveyard. You may return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. So, at its best, when the opponent has something you don't care about, and you have something that you do, and then you get to decide. But you also have to have not a lot of options for them, so that way they have to choose one of your good things. So it's still kind of meh. And the battlefield is a copy of any creature on the battlefield except it has X. This creature has base power and toughness XX, and not until end of turn. I don't think so. Grasp of Fate enters the battlefield for each opponent. Exile up to one target non-land permanent that player controls until Grasp of Fate leaves the battlefield. An effect like that can be fun if you make sure that the people that can have the easiest time destroying the enchantment and getting their stuff back are the ones least inclined to blow it up because of the stuff they'll give back to the other players. You know, like they could get back their one guy, but on the other hand, their one guy is not as good as, you know, the creatures or other things that are underneath the grasp of fate at this point. So becomes monstrous, exile all artifacts and enchantments. I think not, Captain. Yeah, I'm gonna belay that order. Only during the declare blocker step, for each creature attacking you or a planeswalker you control, create a token that's a copy of that creature and that's blocking that creature. Exile those tokens at end of combat. This is just so dumb for an opponent with a lot of good comes into play effects that's attacking you. It's just like, I'm going to make a token copy of each one of those things, get all of the comes into play triggers, and then assign blockers. Well, they're going to come into play blocking the creature, so I don't even have to assign blockers. Which is fun because then you can block things like Invisible Stalker and Blighted Agent and whatnot. Since the things are put into play blocking them and don't have to be declared as blockers in the first place. Still, it's not anything this deck needs. I'm just amused by it. Manta, Polluted Mire. Jordan. Hell. Choose 3. 2/2 Knight with Vigilance. Exile an enchantment. Gain 5 life. Nope. Yeah, the red one got the destroy artifacts portion, which will be way more helpful for this deck. Choose 2 colors. Each spell costs 1 less to cast for each of the chosen colors it is. So my white blue spells will be 2 cheaper, and the other ones will all be 1 cheaper. And my artifact spells cost the same. Well, my colorless spells cost the same anyway. Um, yeah, I almost feel like I would rather have the stone calendar than that, just because we have so many artifacts in the deck. I want them to be cheaper also. Oh, we did scroll past the living weapon. Equipped creature deals combat damage to a player. That player loses half their life rounded up. I don't know, he's from Theros Beyond Death. I'm looking at him and I see like the Commander 2018 symbol over here, and I missed that this was the Theros or Born of the Gods specifically. At first. Yep. Pathetic Destiny. Exile all creatures you control. I think I read this before, and then it's going to reveal from the top. Put all creature cards revealed this way onto the battlefield, then shuffle the rest of the reveal cards into your library. Yeah, I don't think so. And Zoetic Caverns again. Alright. So it was 2015 and nothing. Alright. 2016. Eventually we'll find something. I have a feeling that the Strixhaven one will have stuff because it has a lot of Artifact Matters cards in the Lorehold section. So we might find something there that we want. Memory automaton may attach any number of equipment. Nope. Assault suit. You win the flip, destroy all non-land permanents. No. It's Chain of Vapor alternate artwork. Okay. Undaunted, return all non-land permanents to owner's hand. Nope. +1/+1 for each color among permanents you control, so +2/+2. As long as Conjurer's Flail is attached to a creature, your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. Yeah, I saw the Soulbinders already when I was looking at Conspiracy, but I'm still sitting here trying to process them as though they were a new card. Whenever one or more creatures attack, you may have target attacking creature gain double strike. I think we need that. Target player sacrifices an attacking creature. I get 1/1 soldier tokens based on that creature's toughness. Probably not. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Then exile all their tokens created with Fairy Artisans. Creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control. I make a token copy of that creature, except it's an artifact. This is not optional, so if opponents play something terrible, I do have to copy it. Usually that doesn't come up, but hard casting Phage from the hand or activating Beamtown Bullies could very easily do terrible things. Like activating the Beamtown Bullies is probably the worst because that would probably kill me and the person that they're being given to. It's like, okay, you get a leveler, and because you have Fairy Artisans, you also get a leveler. Also, I don't know that I have enough ways to make use of the token before they play another creature. Like, if I can keep using the tokens for something while the opponents are putting more and more creatures into play and therefore giving me more tokens to work with. Wow. Where was I in that sentence? I know where it ended, but did I start off with, like, as though I was going to lead into how that would be relevant? I've only been streaming for what, an hour? This keeps getting worse and worse the more I do this, like just reading the cards. I don't do it like start of the day basically, but I had to like go to the bank and I was actually looking for a new chair so that I could get rid of the creaky chair and have one that gave me better lower back support and better cushioning. That way I wouldn't need to do all these jerry rigging things to get the chair to not collapse under my weight. and be soft enough to sit on that I'm not hurting as much as I was. Make a germ and attach it. Um, old Hushwing Griff. Whenever opponent casts a spell, put a 1/1 counter on her, and she has partner. Was this the 4-color ones then? Like, do we have the other partner creatures? Because I think there's like 2 enemy colors and 1 ally color for each color combination. Top 10 cards of your library, starting with the next opponent in turn order. Each chooses a different non land card from among them. Put the chosen cards in your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Eh. Yeah, I don't think we need Mirror Weave. I think I glossed over that. It's kind of funny, but at the same time, it doesn't do anything we super need, so. I don't think we need Myriad Landscape. What's the Abacus again? Upkeep. Each opponent may put 2/1/1 counters on a creature they control. If the player does, creatures that player controls can attack you or planeswalkers you control until your next turn. Hmm. Incoming where X is number of basic land types. I don't know why I was about to read Prismatic Geoscope as though it were Nyx Lotus, but in my head for some reason it was about to be that. I guess because it's a 5-drop artifact that makes mana, but it has a bunch of requirements in order to get a ton out of it, and it comes into play tapped. Power Sands Selfless Squire. Enters the battlefield, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you this turn. Whenever damage that would be dealt to you is prevented, but that may 1/1 counters on Selfless Squire. The 4-mana 1/1 base. Hmm. Daunted, destroy all creatures. Eh, feels very whatever. I don't know, it's just Wave of Reckoning with different artwork. And Windfall with different artwork. Okay. This was 2016 now. We still haven't found anything cool. Or anything that we want to run anyway. There was some cool stuff, but nothing that's like on topic. I guess this is happening because normally we would look at the commander sets so early in the cycle of going through the sets that we wouldn't have enough cards by the time we got here. So more stuff would look more appealing than they actually are. Balin the Wandering Knight has double strike as long as 2 or more equipment are attached to it, and spend 2 mana to attach all equipment to him. 2+ deals combat damage to a player. Create a token that's a copy of the axe. Whenever enchanted player is attacked, you draw a card. Each opponent attacking that player does the same. When enchanted player is attacked, you gain 2 life, as does each opponent attacking that player. Draw all creatures with power greater than target creature's power. Fortunate few. Choose a non-land permanent you don't control. Then each other player chooses a non-land permanent they don't control that hasn't been chosen. Destroy all other non-land permanents. Nope. Tap an untapped wizard you control. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to owner's hand. Or another equipment enters the battlefield under your control. Attach that equipment to target creature you control. The creature gets +2/+0 and has indestructible. Herald's Horn enters the battlefield. Choose a creature type. Creature spells you cast of the chosen type cost 1 less to cast. You have your upkeep to the top card. Yeah. Yeah, no, we're not going to have enough creatures, basically. Enters the battlefield. Choose a creature type. Put a divinity counter on target creature you control of the chosen type. Each creature you control with a divinity counter on it is indestructible. Enters the battlefield or attacks. Draw a card. Yeah, it's a bit much. I guess so. The mind is Mind's Desire, right? On the top X cards where X is 1 plus the number of spells you've cast this turn. Yep. Alright, creature you control of the chosen type, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Oh, right, the mirror is. Although. Yeah, I still would need the other creatures to be the right type for that. I don't think the mirror from a Monkhat stays an artifact when it becomes a copy of the other things. Otherwise, that would actually be super helpful because then we're making copies of. Well, do we just make copies of the mirror at that point, or does it become a copy of the creature that the mirror is copying? I think it would become a copy of the thing the mirror is copying at that point because those are copyable statistics, even though it's until end of turn. Whereas turning it into an artifact so I can copy it would not be. I don't think you get the mirror. Maybe you do. Like, you just get another mirror at that point instead of getting a copy of whatever the mirror is targeting. But I want to believe that you actually get the thing at that point. The same way as if you clone a creature and then you make a copy of the clone, you make a copy of the other creature, not of clone again. Enters the battlefield during the declare attacker step. You may select which player, planeswalker, target attacking creature is attacking. Alright, on to the next one. Let's see. Ramos. Oh, this was the creature type matters eminence deck. I don't know why I didn't key into that with Balin and the hammer. That those were the cat deck cards, but seeing Ramos made me realize, oh no, wait, that's what I'm on right now. And we even had the things like the kindred cards. Okay. Our dragon you control becomes the target spell or ability opponent controls. Destroy target non-land permanent that player controls. Spirit of the Hearth. In. Stalking Leonin. Higam, Ojutai Master. Instant sorcery and dragon spells can't be countered. Cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand. If he attacked this turn, that spell gains rebound. Fairy's protection. Nope. Okay. A couple cards to think about, but nothing that makes me go, yeah, I desperately need this in my deck. So 2017 or 2018. Grab some more water. Oh, it's this thing with the Planeswalker commanders. Top 8 cards of your library. Put a land from among them onto the battlefield. During of turn, for each non-land card type, you may cast a spell of that type among the exile cards without paying its mana cost. Yeah. Not for 8 mana. Sorry, creepy psychic girl, who hasn't shown up in anything since this set, as far as I know. I think she might have been mentioned on one or two flavor texts in like a master set, but yeah. Whereas the other characters have the excuse of being dead or have actually done stuff like Saheeli. Right? It was Saheeli, Amateur, what was her name again? Amina Tao's augury. Yeah, so Amina Tao, Lord Windgrace. Were there only 4 this time? And I'm blanking super hard on what the last one was. I want to say it was the Mask Woman with the totem armor and enchantment matters themes going on. She's like a white blue green command or white blue green planeswalker, which means we won't see her because we can't see her. I think there were only the 4 though. I don't think there was a 5th one. I could be wrong. Choose an opponent who controls more lands than you. Search your library for a number of planes cards equal to the difference. One of them on the battlefield, the rest into your. Draw 3 cards. Tap, add 3 mana. Whenever one or more creatures an opponent controls attack you and aren't blocked, that player draws 3 cards and gains control of the jewel. Each time you've cast your commander, create a token that's a copy of target artifact. Huh. So if we've already cast Urza once, when we cast this thing, we would make 2 token copies of either like 2 of the same artifact or 1 of each of 2 artifacts we control. Or it has to be our control. Oh no, just copy of target artifact. So yeah, we get to make 2 token copies in any combination we want of artifacts on the battlefield. And that's assuming that we cast Urza and then cast this thing later. If we have to recast Urza before we draw this, then we get 3 different artifacts. Alright, so that's neat. It definitely makes me. I'm gonna add it to the list. I don't know that I want it, but I know it's at least interesting enough. So after the Shimmer Dragon, at this point, go Storm. Blue sorcery. Oops. That one. Okay. Just making sure. Alright, so this one makes a 4/4 angel token with flying. That is decidedly less impressive. Endless Atlas is always hard to turn on in 2+ color decks. Yeah, I think Estride's Invocation, I believe that's her name. She's the mask planeswalker. with the enchantment matters and totem armor sub themes. Copy of an enchantment you control, except as the beginning of upkeep, you may exile this enchantment. If you do, return to the battlefield under its owner's control. We don't have enough enchantments, I don't think. Like, yes, I would not mind another Anointed Procession or Extravagant Duplication, I think is the thing from New Capenna Commanders. Yeah, that's the other one that, like, there was what one of the I genuinely think it was the wow, Ikoria. I think it was the Ikoria Commander set and the New Capenna sets are the ones that aren't. Maybe New Capenna still is. Maybe we'll get to it in a minute. But yeah, sorry, I was thinking of the Extravagant Replication, but yeah, I think those are the only two that we would desperately want to copy. A little bit Training Ground because we want to make copies of it anyway. Also, turning it into an artifact means we can make an enchantment creature effectively, since it wouldn't copy the artifact status. Yeah. Hello, Vintage. Enjoy lurking. Thanks for stopping by. Ever watching Threshold? Whenever an opponent attacks, if they attack you or a planeswalker you control, draw a card. Yeah, I don't think we need that. Choose a commander that entered the battlefield this turn. 1/1 counter on if it's a creature. Loyalty if it's a planeswalker. Eh. I have too many colorless lands already. Want to add another one? I appreciate that, Vintage. Heavenly Blade Master. Flying, double strike. Enters the battlefield, you may attach any number of auras and equipment to it. Other creatures you control for each one attached to it. Yeah. Yeah, it's not anything we care about. Okay, light form. Loyal Drake. Fly, beginning of combat on your turn. If you control your commander, draw a card. Control your commander. Prevent all combat damage will be dealt to creatures you control this turn. Other creatures you control gain vigilance. Be dealt to creatures you control this turn. Other creatures you control gain vigilance. I have like a bunch of other random stuff that can give out vigilance, but I do like the Dolmen's Gate effect on the unicorn. Of course, if I really wanted that, we could run Dolmen's Gate instead, and then it would be an artifact that we could make copies of, so more readily anyway. But then we could I kind of like the idea of vigilance on all of these things, just so that way when we make a ton of them, we can attack and not be vulnerable randomly to dying. But if we're doing the things that we're trying to do, should severely limit what opponents can do anyway to kill us if it's not obvious already on board. Yeah, I think we'll skip the unicorn. I feel like it's going to be a cut in the long run. I feel like most of the things that I have that are doing effects like that would be a cut in the long run. I do like the idea of them, but we're going to run out of room and I'm going to wind up cutting them anyway. Oh, my phone is ringing. So, let's see if anybody wants to leave a message. Nope, doesn't sound like it. Okay. Beginning of your end step, you manifest the top card of your library. Exile face down permanent you control. Oh, exile it face up. Like, So you put into exile, but you put into exile face up. You may play that card this turn. Okay. Gotcha. I'm reading it. I'm like, exile a face down card you control face up. What? But yeah, you exile the card face up so everybody can see what it is and so that you know which one it was. Because otherwise they'd have to give you permission to look at it again. Like, you have permission to look at your manifest cards, but when you exile a card face down, if it doesn't tell you you can look at it, then you can't. There's a minor thing and why they don't normally put that on the cards anymore. Usually they just exile it face up and everybody gets to know what it is. But yeah, there are some cards where, like Bomac Courier is a good example, where you don't get to know what you would get if you sacrificed them until after you do it. Unless you're cheating. But, we would all prefer to think that nobody's going to intentionally do that, especially in a casual game of Commander. I know there are people that do, but once you realize they're doing that, you can just, not invite them back. And for the most part, it's like such a silly thing to intentionally do. Like, there are no prizes on the line. You're just having fun playing Magic. 3 more artifacts. Creatures your opponents control lose all ability. Oh, right, this guy. I think we saw him with, Brothers War Commander. Okay. Naiads. Alright, so far we found Echo Storm from all Commander sets up until this point. That was 2018. Commander 2019. Yeah, I guess the 2021 would be Capenna, right? Or was Capenna its own thing? I genuinely cannot remember now. It's been too long since I did New Capenna, and that was like last week. This is the one that changes turn order. I love this thing as a mechanic. It's just like, oh hey, we're going to swap the turn order now, so now it goes back in the other direction. You wait for the person after you to take a turn, and then you can swap it, or you can do fun things where it's about to be your turn, but you've got like I think I put it in the braids deck so we could reverse like the direction and make stacks make everybody else have to sacrifice a bunch of stuff again before it actually got back to me. But yeah, I love that effect. It's such a weird and interesting thing. Oh no, wait, that's Chrome Shell Crab with different artwork. Sacrifice Cliffside Rescuer. Target permanent you control gains protection from each of your opponents until end of turn. Not terrible. Creatures you control get +1/+1 for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. Listen, if that doesn't make it into my wrist deck, I don't know if I'm ever going to build a commander that actually wants that card. Like, he's got the ton of creatures necessary for the go wide, and he's always getting killed and getting recast, so. Powered auto generator. Enters the battlefield tapped. Tap, put a charge counter on and add X mana. Yeah. Don't think so. Dead Hour of Reckoning. There's Idol of Oblivion. So taps to draw a card if we've created a token this turn, and 8 tap sacrifice it, make a 10/10 Eldrazi token. I want to put it on the list at least. So if we make token copies of it, we can they would gain the ability to tap to draw a card, so on turns where we need them, we can make a token and then tap the copies to draw extra cards. Also, later on, when we have the Urzatron assembled and all of my lands are tapping for like 3+ mana, and we have all this mana to spend, being able to turn the original copy into a 10/10 Eldrazi, which we might be able to make multiple other tokens at that point, seems fine. We might wind up cutting it, but I do like the idea of having the extra card draw in there. It'll you drop artifact. Yeah, I'm gonna add it to the list. I don't know that we need it, but I do think I want that one. All right, that's Ixodron with alternate artwork. Kadina's Silencers. Turn face up. Counter all abilities your opponents control. Target player returns each commander they control from the battlefield to the command zone, and I draw a card. During combat, opponents can't cast spells this turn. End the combat phase. Your next turn, creatures target player controls are base 1. Flashback. Prosperity. Under an opponent's control, you tap, draw a card, then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Then the pendant's owner can do the same. Distortion. 2 cards. Scaretiller. Becomes tap, choose one. Land from my hand or land from the graveyard. I think so. Turn target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. If it was cast from the graveyard, you may copy this spell and choose a new target. So, whenever you cast a spell, populate. That is an interesting one because that lets us develop out our board in other ways and still make more copies of the thing we wanted to make copies of instead of having to activate Urza. I'm gonna add it to the list. I don't know if it's gonna make the deck, but that is definitely something I could see. The Song of the World Soul. This World Soul is one word. That is 4 white white for an enchantment. Yeah, I feel like I would rather have extravagant reproduction or whatever replication over that as my 6-drop do nothing enchantment, but split second, exchange control of target non-creature spell, target creature, then the spell's controller may choose new targets for it. So, Thalia's Geistcatcher. Cast a spell from your graveyard, make a spirit token, sack a spirit, this thing gains indestructible. 3 mana, 3/1 life. Stolen Identities. Fender, when you do tap the copied creature, it doesn't untap during its controller's untap step for as long as you control Wall of Stolen Identities. Okay, at least we got the World Soul out of that one. Thing to consider. Alright, so it was 2019. Skip 2020 and go to 2021. Now, is this New Capenna? I don't think it would be. So which one is it then? Oh, this is Strixhaven. Okay, because Angel of Ruins is an artifact creature. Enters the battlefield, exile up to 2 artifacts and/or enchantments. Has plane cycling. Well, aside from the fact that it's a 7-drop, I'm definitely in the market for this one. So oh yeah, that's true. I already had Flawless Maneuver and Fierce Guardianship, so Nuka Penna has to be either on this list or in the thing, but Ikoria is one of the ones that was not. So this is the Strixhaven one, and Ikoria was one of the ones that was like Commander Ikoria, but had 5 decks associated with it. Anyway, yeah, I refuse to remember which ones are which anymore. Angel of the Ruins. It's 5 white, white. Artifact Angel, and a 5/7. Ah. Yeah, I'm definitely in the market for the effect. The casting cost is so high, though, that we might not wind up running it anyway. But then again, it does plane cycle, so that's helpful. Enters the battlefield, search your library for up to 2 basic planes. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under opponent's control, if that player controls more lands than you, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Ward 2. Other artifacts you control have Ward 2. Powers equal the number of artifacts you control. I don't think so. If it got +1 power, if it was a 0 power creature and got +1 power for each, I might be more interested in it. Because I'm making more copies of it than Ward would stack on them, so targeting my stuff just becomes more and more unfeasible. Maybe I should still consider it, because it does make the thing more and more difficult to target my stuff with each one that I make. Like the fact that they're going to be 1/1s that are getting buff by Urza and become 3/3s, they still are going to be 3/3 double strikes at that point. That's not terrible. Yeah, okay, we'll consider the Bronze Guardian too. Okay. For 4 and a white. A star 5. Combat Calligrapher. Inklings can attack you or planeswalkers you control. Whenever a player attacks one or more of your opponents, that attacking player creates a 2/1 Inkling. Player draws X cards plus an additional card for each time they've cast their commander. Have no maximum hand size. Whenever a creature token you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. I get so worried about these things where they're not optional and we're going to have like hundreds of tokens, because then I actually have to pick a real number to attack with instead of just going, I attack you with everybody, and then having them not die and me decking out. Although I suppose if they're all connecting, the problem is that if they all connect to one player and another player is still alive, then I deck out. So I actually have to care which ones I attack with. I'd rather just be able to attack them with everything if I need to, or just go, I turn this million tokens at you. The other 3 million can stay back. Deals combat damage to a player. That player exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile an instant or sorcery card. It casts that without paying its mana cost, then puts the exile cards that weren't cast on the bottom of their library in a random order. Yeah, it's not really what this deck wants to do. Choose the one that makes fractals. Best or copy an instant or sorcery where X is its mana value. And target creature token can't be blocked this turn. I mean, that second part's neat, but like 4 mana invested, I don't know that we need it. Cast an artifact spell, you may pay 2. If you do, create a colorless construct artifact creature token that gets +1/+1 for each artifact. That's not terrible. I do like those tokens because they're 0/0s instead of power and toughness equal to the number of artifacts you control, so they work really well with Urza. But I think we've got enough other stuff that adds to our artifacts when we cast them, where we can do things by spending mana. Most notably, Mirror Works. Like, I would much rather have another copy of that artifact in almost all cases than the construct token. I mean, we could run it so that we could get both potentially, or, you know, just because we didn't draw the one and we have the other is not bad, but I don't think I super need them. Destroy target non-land permanent. Its controller creates 2 treasures. And we can let somebody copy it, and if they do, we get to cast it another time on top of that. Yeah, I don't think so. Player casts an instant or sorcery spell equal to its mana value. Yeah, I'm not thrilled with Geometric Nexus, and it's not doing anything we really need. Secretly choose an opponent, reveal the player you chose, you and target permanent you control. Each gain protection from the chosen player. Only do that once. Draw 2 cards and then resuspend it. Yeah, no. So shield the Clockwork Scholar. Prevent all combat damage to be dealt to attacking artifact creatures you control. So there's that type of effect again. And whenever one or more artifact creatures enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Yeah, that for 3 mana, and I get to draw a card basically every turn that I want to. Yeah. Yeah, I think I need low shield on the list. Shield, Clockwork Scholar. It's 2 white. Not an artifact, he's an elephant. Artificer. Artificer. Base 2. There we go. Sit on Warhammer. Partial Impetus. Metallurgic Summons. Monologue Tax. Whenever a opponent casts their second spell, make a treasure token. No, I don't think so. Top X cards of your library. You may cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value X or less from among them without paying its mana cost. Then put the exiled instant or sorcery cards that weren't cast this way into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Yeah, I don't think we have enough of those to merit something like that. Beginning of your end step, for each player, put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature that player controls. Each creature with 1 or more counters on it can attack you or planeswalkers you control unless its controller pays X, where X is the number of counters on that creature. Costs 8 less to cast if you have 8 or more instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. Ward 8, Magecraft. Target creature becomes a base power and toughness 8/8. Okay. Not as good as I thought it was, but still okay. Explorer again, the Advocist again, Pendant again. Perplexing test. Return all creature tokens to owner's hand. No. Return all non-token creatures to owner's hand. Better, but still not really what I want to be doing. Each player puts a vow counter on a creature they control and sacrifices the rest. Already don't want it for this deck. Each of those creatures can attack you or planeswalkers you control as long as they have vow counters. Yeah, no. Create a token that's a copy of target permanent you control and demonstrate. So 5 mana, make a token that's a copy of a permanent I control. And then if I want to let somebody else do that, then I can make 2 copies. But it's only 1 mana less than Urza. And it's pretty easy. Yeah, I don't think so. Like, at that point, I basically have to let somebody else copy something for it to be good, and I don't think that's going to happen. Sponsor enters the battlefield. Each player who controls fewer lands than the player who controls the most land searches their library for a number of basic land cards less than or equal to the difference. Put those cards onto the battlefield tapped. I don't think we need it for this deck. That is definitely a card that I want to put in like a group hug deck that's not ramping with lands and be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to catch us all back up to the other player who has been playing their blue-green landfall, whatever the giant serpent that's like a better Tadiova is, commander. Till your next turn, target creature opponent controls can't be blocked. Goad that creature. Not doing anything we care about. Combat damage to a player. Create a 9/9 blue Kraken token. The chosen opponent exile target creature that's attacking you. If it's controlled by the player that was chosen. Activate only once. Scrolling. Tempting contract. Beginning of your upkeep, each opponent may create a treasure token. For each opponent who does, I make a treasure token so I can make like 2 or 3 or whatever. Yeah, I don't think so. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control this turn, create a token that's a copy of that creature. It's a neat trick to get their creature long enough to make copies with Urza. We would get 2 copies. Like, I'm assuming that since it's non-token creature, unless we cast in response to something like Living Death, we're not gonna get enough cool stuff from it. We'll only get like 1 creature. Oh, there's Triplicate Titan, which is a hilarious thing to make token copies of just because. Excuse me. Like, yeah. Okay, here's my 3/3 Flying Vigilance Trample, and when it dies, it becomes 3/3. Now 5/5 creatures, 1 with Flying, 1 with Vigilance, and 1 with Trample. It's a fun, silly thing to copy. I feel like it'll get cut, but like, this is definitely a card that goes in a very different Urza deck where I'm just trying to do where I'm trying to do like big dumb things rather than the infinite stuff that this deck is capable of. But at the same time, I'm just very amused. This and Wormcoil Engine, the fact that they die into multiple creatures larger than themselves amuses me. So Victory Chimes would be marginally interesting. We should have added it during Battle Bond, but if we were going to do that. But it does the thing where if we don't have Unwinding Clock, we get to untap all of our stuff. And like, if we have enough victory chimes, then we get to activate Urza every turn because we would untap all of them, but we would need some combination of 6 of them and the cost reduction effects. And if we don't have the cost reduction effects, I feel like getting to 6 copies of them is kind of silly. So I probably thought the same thing when I saw them before and just didn't bother commenting on it. Oh wait, that was Commander 2021. And we don't have a 2022, so yeah, that must have been New Capenna then. Alright. So what's next? Get all the commander sets. Little Warhammer thing. Okay. This one might actually be interesting. I'm thinking the vehicles from some of them, since making token copies of them would be, 1/1 vehicles, 1/1 constantly animated vehicles at that point. So I think there are a couple of them that would be interesting for that. And then there are the non-black artifacts from the whatever they're called, the artifact creature zombie things. Choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1 power and gain indestructible until end of turn. I don't think we need that because we have the crescendo and the flawless maneuver. And those don't care about our creature types. Like, it's interesting because we have a lot of soldiers, or a lot of our things will be soldiers, but it still won't let us protect, like, Urza, for example. Tap 2 untapped artifacts you control. Create a 2/2 white warrior creature token with vigilance. Tap X untapped creatures you control. Look at the top X cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact card from among them and put in your hand, and the rest on the bottom. That just feels like a way weaker version than either of the other things. Like, yes, we can make 2/2 warriors with him, but we have to tap 2 artifacts and him in order to get that. And then we have to tap all of these untapped creatures. Then we get to put the artifact in our hand, and yeah. Enters the battlefield, exile target player's graveyard for each artifact or land card exiled this way. 1/1 insect artifact creature token with flying. Hmm. So what are our other things? We have Lion Sash and the Gargoyle. I think I like Lion Sash more because we can respond to uh, opponents trying to grab things back from their graveyard, whereas this thing, unless we can make another copy of it in response. But then it's an onboard trick, so they know not to try and animate their creatures. The graveyard. Another non-token artifact, creature, or vehicle enters the battlefield under your control. Draw a card. Not quite good enough. Enters the battlefield from a graveyard, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent, and has Unearth. As a land I control. Yeah, it does not great for this deck. Um, Flying Lifelink. Beginning of your end step, return target creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. Don't think so. Convergence of Dominion. As long as you control your commander, activated abilities of cards in your graveyard cost 2 less. 3 tap, mill 3 cards. Eh. I don't think I need to give my other artifact creatures hexproof with this guy specifically. Then again, I was looking at the other thing as though, like, putting Ward 2 on all of my guys and then increasing it would be a thing. So if they just couldn't be targeted at all. Yeah, I'm treating the other thing before like that would be such a great thing to have all of my guys be like Ward 16 or something. But better than Ward 16 is can't even be targeted regardless, so. I know Warhammer's been around for a while, and I'm sure the crypto thrall predates cryptocurrencies in the game, but seeing it called the crypto thrall just suddenly, like, that finally triggered in my brain that that's what its name actually is. It's here to protect my creatures from being harassed over their investments in Bitcoin. It will not allow anybody to say any mean things to them now. The Defenders of Humanity. Enters the battlefield, create X22, that thing, warrior creature tokens with vigilance. Exile defense. Oh, right. And you can effectively cast it from your graveyard. Create X11 soldiers, where X is the number of creatures on the battlefield. Oh, that is a reprint from one of the commander sets. The Stollery Librarian. Whenever a librarian attacks, you may cast a spell with mana value X or less from your hand without paying its mana cost, where X is the number of attacking creatures. They cast a spell with mana value X or less. Still probably not, but slightly more interesting. 2+2, gain vigilance and lifelink. Nope. Whenever a creature attacks you, it gets -1 power until end of turn. Whenever a creature attacks one of your opponents, it gets +1 toughness. Put an infection counter on target creature defending player controls. Whenever a creature with an infection counter on it dies, you create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's their race, Tyranids, in addition to its other types. So it has to attack to put the counter on it in the first place. So maybe not. Alright, so 4 mana vehicle, 3/3 flyer. Becomes crewed. Each artifact creature in your graveyard gains Unearth, and it crews for 2. I'm looking at the Goliath truck and its 2/1/1 counters on our other stuff, and also kind of Rites of Banishment. Grey Knight Paragon enters the battlefield, destroy target attacking creature. If that creature is a demon, exile it instead. John Archive, Herald's Horn, Flying Cascade. Nope. Ancestry. Whenever equipped creature attacks, create a 2/2 warrior token with vigilance that's attacking. Then attacking creatures you control gain menace. Nope. Knight Paladin. Enters the battlefield, deals 4 damage to each opponent. Has crew 1. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 4 damage to each opponent. That's a little bit on the tempting side if we can just start churning out copies of that thing on the cheap. Like, making our opponent's stuff cost 1 billion mana is fine. Like, it gets them dead because they can't interact with it. But if we have enough mana and this thing, and we have, like, the cost down because we'll never have enough mana otherwise unless opponents are critically low on life, Then we just get to mow down everybody real quick because this thing was in play, or force them to have a kill spell for it. Alright. Crypto Thrall. This is, what was it? Knight Paladin. Then 5-drop. Oh, 6/6. Yeah, from full we need 10 of them in order to kill all of our opponents, but that's from full. And once we get to the part where activating Urza is like 1 or 2 mana, that's not even that unreasonable of a thing to pull off, so. Effect of Deception. Or if we just have infinite mana, you know, from what we're doing. Although Urza usually has to be pretty cheap for us to have infinite mana with how we would get it. Battlefield, draw 3 cards. That is a 7-drop. So. 2, Mask of Memory, Glory. No. Forge. Alright, 7-drop, Flying Indestructible. When it attacks, mill 3 cards. For each creature card milled this way, make a 2/2 of those warrior artifact creature tokens and crew 4. I'm not thrilled with the milling me part because I don't think we have enough ways to capitalize on that. If we had more ways to do that, if we had more things that could pull back from the graveyard and whatnot, I'd be more interested in this because then they'd be 3/3 flying indestructible creatures that are giving us card advantage. But yeah, it seems pretty expensive and not going to do what we need it to do. Why we put it in the deck to begin with. Protection from mana value 3 or less. Whenever it attacks, it deals 5 damage to each opponent and crew 4. I gotta be honest, I like the other one more because it's cheaper. The protection from mana value 3 or less is nice, but not essential. And they're going to be 3/3s, not 10/10s. So. And they have to attack, whereas the other one just has to come into play. Yeah, I think I'd rather just have them come into play. May exile a creature from the graveyard. Whenever it attacks, gains based on the thing that it exiled. So if we don't exile anything for the token copies, and we wouldn't because they're not being cast. Squad 2 enters the battlefield, draw a card. I think so. Alright, instant sorcery, activate ability, or triggered ability. She's okay, but we have overcharged amalgam already, and that can copy a wider array of things, or copy that can counter a wider array of things. And neither one of them is an artifact. If she were an artifact, maybe, because then at least we would have. It wouldn't be as hard to make a token copy of her. Well, controls more lands than you. Search your library for a plains card. Put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Yep. Not particularly impressive. Morphic. The Golden Throne. If you would lose the game, instead exile the Golden Throne and go to 1. Tap, sack a creature, add 3 mana in any combination of colors. Eh. Another vehicle. Enters the battlefield, create 2 of the white creature tokens. When it attacks, attacking creatures you control gain flying. So making a token copy of this also makes 2 vigilance creature tokens, which is okay. They're warriors, not soldiers, though, so that's a little. Deals combat damage to a player. Put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control. No. Oh, and the top 6 cards of your library in a face down pile. If you do, shuffle that pile, put it back on top of your. Wait, dies, exile it. Oh, exile it and the top 6 cards of your library, so it becomes one of the top 7 cards of your deck. And then it has Miracle for white and 1. Squad, and it's an Anthem. Squad, flying, deals combat damage to a player. Draw a card. Flash, vigilance. Commanders you control have protection from everything. The last one is the Zephyrim. They have Squad, Flying, Vigilance, and Miracle. They're 3/3 human warriors. Well, some of the vehicles were interesting and were worth considering. Yeah, I don't think I need the gunship that much. Now we need lane chase. Okay. Chase. We need the 2012 edition. The first one was all reprints. It's the second one, and I think we're only gonna see like 4-ish cards. It's like the Waystone or whatever, the Sakashima's student, the Shuriken, and I think there's a white card. But I could be wrong about that. Alright, let's see. What cards are either unique? Oh, right. It's one of the Umbras. Enchanted creature has lifelink, and white and 1, attach Felidar Umbra to target creature you control, and totem armor. There's the Power Stone. I forget if this is where Illusionary Angel debuted or not. I don't think so. I think M15. Oh, no, wait. This is 2012, so yeah, it had to have debuted here. Alright. That was another one that was unique to here. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not a Shuriken. It's a Sai. Sakashima student. Ninja. Yep, okay. So technically, I think the Illusionary Angel was also a unique card to this thing first. So that was Plane Chase. Jumpstart sets. Okay. Hey, what do we got? Got you, Arbiter, Dire Hour. Enters the battlefield, return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. Is that one cheaper than the other effects? I don't think so. Plus, 2 of the other ones are repeatable. if they're on, even if they're on smaller creatures, and require them to tap to do it. Like we have Hana and we have the Archaeologist, so I think both of those are better. Prevent all non-combat damage will be dealt to you and creatures you control. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, make a unicorn. We're not milling, so we don't need Bruvok. Enters the battlefield, make a treasure token. Other pirates get +1/+1. Heritage, can't run a meal because he's hybrid green-white. That thing. Will. Alright, this is the one we can run, but it's the thing that cares about flying stuff, right? Attacking creatures with flying get +1/+1 until end of turn. Whenever 3 or more creatures you control with flying attack, each player gains control of a non-land permanent of your choice controlled by the player to their right. It's a neat effect, but it's not anything we're building towards. If our guys have flying, that's nice, but we plan to win with overwhelming numbers. So, less likely to come up. Archaeologist is a reprint. Yep. Okay. Foremost, the Archive Keeper would draw from. You would draw a card while your library has no cards in, instead put 5 counters on him. Discard 3 cards with different names, draw 5 cards. Yeah. Again, not really what we're all about. So we just kind of keep on. Find something better. Or 1/1 dogs. Follow the Lost Trove. Does let me cast an artifact for free if I get him into play. And the artifact doesn't get exiled if it goes back to the graveyard at any point in time. It is a 7-drop though. So yeah, I think ultimately it doesn't make it, but marginally interesting for the deck. If we had more stuff that would be more useful to copy, besides getting back one of our dead artifacts, because I don't think there are enough artifacts in here that I would pay 7 mana to get back. Attacking creatures with flying get +2/+2. Nope. Attacks if you control an artifact or enchantment gets +1/+1 and lifelink until end of turn. Ooh. 1/1 counter on each other creature you control. Nope. Thriving lands. Huh. That's interesting. Thriving Bluff did not make it into any of the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms commanders recons, but the other ones did. Was there not a green one? Is that why? That doesn't sound right. Going Wave. Windstorm Drake. Yeah. Okay. So that was the first Jumpstart set. Hop back over here, do the current Jumpstart set. Full 2022. Just stretch here while I wait for this to load. Alright. Artificer can't run Argos because he's part white. Or part white because he's part red. We can run him because he's part white. We can't run him because he's part red. Cast your second spell each turn, get a Drake. Oh no, draw your second card. I was like, wait a minute, you can't cast 5 spells in a turn realistically, but yeah, it's draw a card. Draw your 5th card, gets +X, where X is the number of cards in your hand. But it's only her and the Drakes that get it. Spell ability, 1/1 counter on it. As long as it has 3 or more counters, it has fly. Version. This thing. So rest. Worker. Bag of holding. Balin. Biblioplex Kraken. Enters the battlefield, scry 3. It's a 5 mana 4/5. When it attacks, you may return another target creature you control to owner's hand. If you do, the Kraken can't be blocked this turn. Chains of Custody. Enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent opponent controls until it leaves play. It's an aura, though, on a creature you control. Chain creature has ward 2. Yeah, I don't think so. They want whatever the... I feel like it's like Cathar's Custody or something was the original one. And now, instead of giving it power and toughness, it gives it ward. Art. War life. Distinguished Conjurer. Another creature enters the battlefield under your control. Gain 1 life. White 4 and tap. Exile another target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield. Replicator. Enters the battlefield. Pay 1. When you do, create a token that's a copy of target token you control, not named Dutiful Replicator. Enters the battlefield and pay 1. If you do, create a token that's a copy of target token that isn't one of its copies already. The 3-drop 3/2. Eh. Frederick. Heal again. Patient Angel. Snare. There are 4 pages, and all we're looking at is the white and blue ones. Were there really that many cards from this set? Yeah, I feel like there must be a lot more one-ofs and a lot more variants in the decks than where the card pools for each one of these things. Rose, Felidar Cub, Felidar Filigree, Flicker. You. Sorry, Gideon. Antoplasm again. Hold for questioning. There's the battlefield. Tap enchant permanent. Investigate. Enchant permanent doesn't untap. Its activated abilities can't be activated. Can't run the Infernal Idol. Way too many black symbols on that one. Try attacking creature you control. If that creature is a cat, it gains first strike. Choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. Can't run Isu because he's got green in him. Nessos because it has green in it. Counter target creature or planeswalker spell. Make a 1/1 colorless Thopter token with flying. I think so. Like, it's not terrible for our deck. We certainly have enough cards that care about having artifacts in play. Beginning of your end step, untap each other artifact creature you control. Okay, 5/5 vehicle artifact token named Zeppelin with flying and crew 3. No. No, I don't think so. Enters the battlefield with 5 reprieve counters on it. When another non-token creature you control dies, if its mana value was 1 or greater, remove that many reprieve counters from Magistrate. If you do, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. I think so. Soul's a reprint. Mausoleum Guard. Production. Merfolk Pupil. Enters the battlefield, draw and then discard. Exile it from your graveyard, draw and discard. That'd be a really good limited card, but not good enough for my constructed commander deck. It's not trying to draw and discard specifically. It might be down for that, actually. Comes into play and dies, although obviously we probably want Merfolk Looter in that situation way more. Similar cards, but still. Apprentice, Panharmonicon, Peace Walker Colossus. Pirated Copy is a 5 mana, enters a battlefield copy of any creature on the battlefield except it's a pirate. And it has whenever this creature or another creature with the same name as it deal combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Or you do have to draw a card. So it comes in play as a copy of any creature, and whenever it or that creature, or anything with the same name as that creature, deal combat damage. Yeah, I don't think so. Enters the battlefield tapped. It costs 2 to cast. Enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. If you do, reveal up to 1 land card from among them and put that card on top of your library and the rest on the bottom in a random order. Then taps that colorless. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield on your control, if it wasn't cast, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 0/1, and it's a white illusion. Sacrifice 5 illusions, exile target non-land permanent. Yeah, I know we blink stuff, but that still feels like I'm not gonna have room for Preston on top of that. As neat as he is with it. Those any of these, unless or they're already on the list because I saw Sanctum Gargoyle and I'm pretty sure that's actually on the list. So while I don't need him, I might want him. Shimmer Dragon's already on the list. Skilled Animator still. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 4 or draw 2 cards. Alright, last page. Bearded Companion, Stalwart Valkyrie, Starnheim Aspirant, Starling Development. Synchronized Eviction. Costs 2 less to cast if you control at least 2 creatures that share a creature type. Put target non-land permanent into its owner's library second from the top. Oh, that's such a weird thing. Costs 2 less to cast, so it's down to 3 mana if I have at least 2 creatures that have a creature type in common. And put target non-land permanent on top of its owner's library second from the top. My reward for casting that at all. Thriving Lands. Lesson. Grove Ward. I was going to say that's a reprint from one of the other Commander sets, right? Zendikar Rising Commander. Hey. Urza lands again. Valorous Stance, Valorous Steed. Billion Click, Wake Thrasher. Trap Weaver. So far, no to all of these. And that's it. Okay. What do we have after that? Those are the 2 jump starts. Oh, we are at the end. Alright, well, I definitely want to add Mana Crypt. Because we need all the mana we can get. So what does that leave us with in the other category? Like, what are the other things that we could be doing? Aether Revolt, Alara Reborn, Alchemy Horizons, Remastered, Avacyn Restored, Battle Bond, Goals Classic, Cold Snap, Commander Sets, Legends, Dual Decks, but none of them have unique cards in them. Oh, it's because of the way the text is on them, it's making me scroll through the name of it first. Got stuck there for a second. Eldritch Moon, Eternal Masters, 4th edition from the vaults. Game Night. Okay. Or the blue and white cards from the 2 Game Night sets. I was going to say I can look for the ones that only have the symbol, but that's not true because some of them got reprinted. Like this one's in one of the Commander sets now. Enters the battlefield, draw cards equal to the number of opponents you have, and make a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. But it's a 7-drop, and I don't think that. Alright, what's the white one? There she is. Flying Lifelink, enters the battlefield, create a number of 2/2 night tokens with vigilance equal to the number of opponents you attack this turn. Okay. That was the first game night. Second game night. Enters the battlefield. For each opponent, choose a creature with the greatest power among creatures that player controls and destroy those creatures. It's okay, but again, it's another 7 mana card. Need anything like that unless it's actually going to win us the game. There's a battlefield, target opponent draws a card, and I draw 3 cards, and it's a 6 mana 5/5 flyer. Yeah, Nope, don't need either of those. Okay, and the newest game night, which I still need to get actually. I kind of keep forgetting it came out at all or exists unless I'm doing these things. Which, is always a good sign. Insidious Singer. Go target creature. Whenever that creature attacks one of your opponents this turn, you draw a card. Eh. White one. Zamrael. Flying. As long as it's your turn, equipped creatures you control have indestructible. Yep, okay. So nothing we need. Go back over here. Get rid of the game nights. Expansion G for game night. What was in the gift pack? That had like 5 unique cards, right? So the white one is flying, and whenever one or more creatures you control attack, they gain indestructible until end of turn. And hexproof creatures your opponents control attack each combat if 8. Both kind of meh for what we're doing. Gift pack. Global series. I swear, if there's anything from Zhang and Mu, I'll be genuinely shocked. I feel like I'm going to look at a lot of things that aren't going to even come close. One more creatures you control attack, you gain 1 life for each attacking creature. No. 1/3 flyer, 5 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. Turn target creature to owner's hand. Earth Origin Yak enters the battlefield. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Flying attacks another target creature you control gains flying. As you control Yan Ling has flying. Happy block this turn. Draw 2 cards. Tap all creatures your opponents control. You take an extra turn after this one. Deals combat damage to a player. Draw a card. Has no evasion abilities. Dies, I draw a card. Up to 2 target creatures to their owner's hand, and then you get that other copy of Mu. Deck. 5 mana 4/4 flyer that isn't air elemental. Vivid Flying Fish. Has flying as long as it's attacking. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would have been genuinely shocked. That was the Global Deck series. So we have all the guild kits. Guild Pack, Guilds of Ravnica, Historic Anthologies, Homelands, Iconic Masters, Innistrades, Invasion, Ixalan, did the Jumpstart sets. Gawa, Legends, Legions, Limited. Did the Modern Horizon sets. Run anything unique from the Mystery Boosters. Set for Gatherer, Ravnica Allegiance. So the Eldrazi. We can click on Secret Lair Drop, but it's not even going to give us the ones that I would need to see. I don't think. I think we would see like the Walking Dead ones, but not the Street Fighter or Stranger Things ones. So that's not super helpful. Spell books. Did the starter. Or what's the last Brothers War thing? Oh, the Transformer cards. Yeah, okay. Let's see if there's anything from that subset. Alright, so it's a 3/3. Prevent all combat damage that will be dealt to attacking humans you control. Cast your second spell. It transforms. You control can't be countered. At least one human attacks, draw a card, and transform it back. It's a 3/4 flyer. Can convert and adapt 3. And remove one or more +1/+1 counters from among artifacts you control. Target player adds colorless. Only spent to be cast non-artifact spells. I was very interested in that until I couldn't cast my artifact spells with it. I don't think I was going to run him, but the idea that I could, yeah, kind of went away when I can't use him for what I would use all of that extra mana for. Another creature or vehicle enters the battlefield under your control. Put a 1/1 counter on him. If this is the second time this ability is resolved this turn, convert him. Whenever another creature or vehicle enters the battlefield, gets a 1/1 counter. Alright, and the front face is... attacks exile up to one other target tapped creature or vehicle. For as long as that card remains exiled, its owner may play it. Whenever a player plays a card exiled with him, I draw a card and convert him. Let's see, Ratchet is lifelink, and whenever you gain life, you may convert Ratchet. When you do, return target artifact card with mana value less than or equal to the amount of life you gain this turn from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Whenever one or more non-token artifacts you control are put into a graveyard from the battlefield, convert it. This ability triggers only once each turn. So it's the same permanent, so I can't go infinite by using him to get back. Although we would only be gaining life once per turn anyway with the lifelink aspect of him, so we would need something else going on to gain life. I was thinking about being able to pull back, specifically Lion's Eye Diamond. So this is one of those weird things that you don't normally notice unless you play a lot of Vintage Cube, and even then I had not noticed this because, you know, in my mind I'm so used to how original Black Lotus was worded, where it was called a mono artifact. Used to be, instead of having the tap activated ability on an artifact, they would be called mono artifacts if they tapped, poly artifacts if you could activate them multiple times, and continuous artifacts if they just had a static effect that affected the board or players or whatnot. And the mono artifacts, just that meant they had to tap to use their ability. So Black Lotus just says adds 3 mana of any one color and then is discarded, I believe, from play. Activate this ability as an interrupt. So I'm used to seeing that wording, so in my head I just auto-correct it because it is a mono artifact. It's tap to do that. It's tap, sacrifice Black Lotus, add 3 mana of any one color. Lion's Eye Diamond just is sacrifice Lion's Eye Diamond, add the mana. So Lion's Eye Diamond can be used for things like tapping it for a blue mana from Urza first before you sacrifice it for the mana, or coming into play, tap doesn't actually stop it from being used immediately. Like weird things like that that don't come up super often if you're not used to the card. Alright. So that was the Brothers War Transformers. The Dark, Theros, Time Spiral, Torment, Ugin's Fate. We didn't do Infinity, did we? Alright. Let's go do some Infinity. Did I just skip past it then? Or is it somehow accidentally not on the list? Commander Legends, Baldur's Gate, Modern Horizons. Like, it should be down here somewhere with these sets. And it's not. Okay. Like, I feel like it should be After Commander and before Warhammer is where Infinity goes. We're down with the Jumpstart stuff. The fact that it's not on the list at all. Uh, Bold and underline. Bold, underline. Go. Oop. Stop bolding. We stop underlining. We tap enter and enter again for good measure. You may put a name sticker on it. +1/+0 for each name sticker on it. Can't be blocked this turn. Up to 2 name stickers on it. Tax, choose a letter. +1/+1 until end of turn for each name sticker on it that begins with a chosen letter. Gain X life, where X is the number of unique vowels on that sticker. So if it enters the battlefield, you get a ticket, and they put a sticker on a non-land permanent you control. Have the sticker sheet card. Ballerina enters the battlefield. You may put a name sticker on a non-land permanent. Another target creature with a name sticker on it gains flying. Don't think we care about the attractions. Next time, target player would roll 1 or more dice this turn. Instead, they roll that many dice +1, and you choose one of those rolls to. Whenever Bioluminary deals combat damage to a player, you get 2 tickets. Then you can put a sticker on a non-land permanent you. 3 or less, scry a number equal to the result. Why do they all have their names in parentheses? That just strikes me as super weird. Oh, it has what subtype they are. So it's bumper cars and then bumper cars A, close parentheses for A, close parentheses for bumper car. Okay, now I see it. Never mind. Celebrate 1,000. Beginning of combat on your turn, roll 2 6-sided dice. For each result of a 1, gets +1/+1 until end of turn. For each other result, gains the indicated ability until end of turn. If you roll doubles, it also gains double strike. The menace, vigilance, lifelink, flying, and indestructible. Enters the battlefield, roll X 6-sided dice. For each odd result, make that many 1/1 clown robot artifact creature tokens, and for each even result, put a 1/1 counter on the clown car. But since it's in the casting cost copying, it's not going to matter. So there's a. I just realized Urza can make copies of the attractions. They're all artifacts. Oh, that might actually be a thing that I'm technically supposed to do with Urza. All right, we have to see what good things open attractions first, and then go back and check all the attractions. I feel like 1/1 white clown robot artifact creature tokens. Then roll a 6-sided die. The result is equal to or less than the number of robots you control. Create another one. Man performance, open an attraction, roll to visit your attractions, get 2 tickets. They put a sticker on a non-land permanent you own. Enters the so 4-drop 3/3. Enters the battlefield, open an attraction. Whenever you roll a 1, create a clown robot. I don't even know if I really want the Attractions. You can make more of each attraction though with Urza, and that's kind of interesting. But first, I need something that opens an attraction that I'm not ashamed to run to begin with, and then we can figure out which attractions I actually want. Lose control is stickered permanent. In this battlefield, choose two target creatures for as long as exchange of words remains on the battlefield. Exchange the text box of those creatures. Is the new text box a copyable effect? It doesn't specify. I'm going to assume that that's a copyable effect now. It just has that text box instead. It's still a weird thing. Foam weapon kiosk. We can't see the front of it. Also, we only get one version of it. I'm pretty sure there's more than one. Pretty sure there's like all four of them. At five. One, two, three, four. Oh, there might be six of them in total. I don't know that it's one of those ones. Huh. Little mouse is behind me making noise in the clutter. Silly little mouse. Yeah, except that they're not legendary. So. Oh, but Urza himself is not an artifact creature, and I can't make him an artifact with a. Like, in such a way that becoming a copy of him would be a thing that it could copy. Because otherwise, I could make everything Urza and have everything get +2/+2, and then any copies of Coat of Arms would also work with that and be very silly. Like, it wouldn't take much to actually win the game, even with a bunch of stacked, life totals on the other side. But I don't think that's going to quite work out the way. Of course, I could always choose the animated, um, the actual animated coat of arms, and then everything would be one, and at that point, everything would be Titanic. But you're so close to winning just with coat of arms and Urza anyway. I think that's kind of a waste of the. Like, again, the attractions are interesting. It also matters which ones would do anything if they triggered multiple times. Like, the creatures you control get additional power is fine, but like some of the other ones where something just becomes true until end of turn, kind of underwhelming. Hey, let's see what the next page has. There's a battlefield. Open an attraction. Once each turn, you may pay one to reroll one or more dice you rolled. That would not only let me open the attraction, but would also give me an extra chance to visit them every turn. So even if I get the six or whatever the numbers are that don't work, I can try again. Tap enchant creature doesn't untap. Whenever you visit an attraction, you may attach motion sickness to a tapped creature. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you get a ticket. White tap, you may put a sticker on a creature you own that entered the battlefield this turn. I don't think we need the pin collection. There's a battlefield open attraction. That one's a 5-drop, so that's even worse. Dies, choose one, get 2 tickets, put a sticker on a non-land permanent you own. Permanent. There's a battlefield, open an attraction. Yeah, so far the blue ones are way more cost efficient for the open an attraction effect. We just need an attraction that is actually super worth getting, and then a handful of other ones. I think it's 10 attractions was the number that your deck had, like the number the attraction deck needs to have. And they all have to have different names. Tap target creature and opponent controls. Yeah, looking at the Starlight Spectacular right now. Line up all of our stuff. I mean, Starlight Spectacular is a lot like Coat of Arms at that point, in that it's giving a huge bonus, but it's like front loading most of it onto like the first creature and the second creature in line, or whatever it is. Creature chosen. Okay, so to the last and the next to last creature are kind of getting front loaded with the high end boost, and then the other ones towards the front of the line just don't get anything really. So, I don't think we need that. Whenever equipped creature attacks, roll a 6-sided die. That creature gets plus X power until end of turn. Then, if it has the greatest power or tied for the greatest power among creatures, draw a card. Hmm. Yeah, swinging ship would actually be a little on the scary side. Although, again, with the way I see this deck playing out, I'm expecting a lot more just killing the opponent when we're done. You know, we did the cool thing. They can't stop us now. We cycle back to our turn again, and then we just turn everybody sideways. I don't think we need extra combat steps or anything. Like, yeah, there will be some opponents that might possibly have enough tokens, but I'm not expecting it. They choose a creature they control, then you choose a creature you control. You may exile the chosen creatures. If you do, return them to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Otherwise, the chosen creatures fight each other. +1/+0 gains flying. Whenever you put an art sticker on a creature, return unlawful entry from the graveyard to your hand. Base power becomes the first result, base toughness becomes the second, and then you can store dice. Enters the battlefield, you may put a name sticker on it, then look at the top X cards, where X is the number of unique vowels on that sticker. One of those cards in your hand and the rest on the bottom. And some more stickers. Yeah, I don't think I want to do um the attractions because I don't really feel like I need the attraction deck, and I don't want to waste the deck space on the mediocre cards. Like only the one really looked like it was a decent choice, and then there was the other blue one that was just a gray ogre that opened an attraction. But yeah, the hill giant and the darkwood boars that open attractions are not really where I want to be at in constructed. So I think we're going to pass, despite the fact that we could do silly things with Urza and the attractions. I feel like we would just, win the game instead if we have enough mana to do enough things. So that was Unfinity. Unglued, Unhinged, Limited, Unsanctioned, Unstable, Masters. Warhammer deck is. Alright, so yeah, that's every single set we've now looked through and pulled out all the cards for Urza. And I have been at this for close to 3 hours now, so I'm going to take a break. Um, Either I'll come back later on to do another draft, play some, something on Arena, or I might be back to work on Urza later on, but I want to add the game text to a lot of the cards on this list first. So either way, that's going to do it for me for right now. Thank you to Vintage Virus from OctoStream stopping by to hang out with me and lurk in my chat. I appreciate that, and I will see you all next time, and have a good rest of your day.